Hey everyone, today it's a new Let's Build session, and today will be a bit different than the usual Let's Build session because we are going to make a small game, like a mini game, based on an idea from Barge. So let's just create a script that will be the game design document, that just to keep the different thing in mind that we want in our mini game. So first, let's add some comments. The first thing that we want is that let's do something like that. So each player is a cube. Let's say white by default. The player can break objects to change his color. So this is the idea is that something where when you get a resource, people around you will also get the resource. So we are going to use that mechanic to change the color. So if I break a blue bottle, for example, then I'm not white, but I become blue. And we are going to use team collision on objects to make puzzles. The idea is that you will be able to go through some walls if you have a specific color. And then we are going to have mixed color, so blue plus red resource equals purple for like a more advanced puzzle. And yeah, let's just make that. That's the base. So first, let's make that each player is a cube. So I guess to make that, we're just going to make an equipment. And that equipment will be the cube. That one. Maybe we can change that after, but that's just the easiest way. And I'm going to attach that cube to the player because the cube is inside the equipment. And I don't need the collision on the cube, so I'm going to add that inside the clone context. That's the geo, so the aspect of the cube. Well, let's call that clone context, and I'm going to make a new group inside. That's the geo with the cube. All right. The equipment is by default attached to the head socket, but I want to attach that to the pelvis, so in the middle of the body. And I'm going to place the geo here. Let's change. Let's do something like that. All right, and let's update the material on our cube. Maybe we can use let's use the basic material right now. All right, I'm thinking that maybe we could use those new cubes that are available here. What does it look like with that? Yeah, maybe with a jump we could make something. All right, let's use that one. Okay, so this is our player, and by default he's white, and that's the player costume. So if I start, you see that I have the costume, but it's not. So it seems like it's equipped on my head. It's just because I haven't changed. So the root of my equipment is here. So I have to move the geo at that position. Even 0, 0, 0. All right. So now when I equip it, you see that I am inside the costumes. Something that we want to do is that when that equipment is equipped, we want to hide the player. So if we look at the script helper. In the player, I think there is this set visible. Player is visible here, and that's what we want to change. So we want to set the is visible to false by default, so that the player won't be shown. So let's make a new script. That's the game like player join. And in that script, we are going to detect when the player joined the game. So to do that, we are going to use the player joined event. And we want to connect that to onPlayer join. OnPlayer join, and we receive the player. All right, so now we can print, for example, the name player.name. So now when the player join, it will call that function, and here we are printing the name of the player. So if I start, you see that here I have the KF, which is the name of the player. And so here I'm going to set player is visible false. So now if I start, see that the player is not visible, but the costume is not visible too. So let's just change the visibility of the geo, because by default it's inherit from parent, but we want the costume to be visible even if the player is not visible. So I'm going to force on the visibility, and now yes, we can see the player, but we can't see the head or the foot or anything. All right, maybe we can just decrease the size a bit of that, the geo. All right, so this is our player. So just did that. Each player is a cube. Well, not a cube, but is a shape, and it's white by default. Now the player can break objects to change his color. Maybe right now we can just start with a resource. Let me just move that in a group. So Control G, that's the world, and the spawn point is in the world. All right. I'm just going to change the material of the floor. Okay. So now we have our player here, and I want the player to pick some resources, and when he take that resources, then we want to change the color of the costume. So let's use the resource pickup. So if you tap resource here, you will have the resource pickup. Do we want to use that? Yeah, let's use that one. All right, so by default, you see that the resource pickup has a resource name, that's gems right now, and here it's changing the name of the resource. And yeah, barge, that's right. We're going to make some paint explosion so that people around us will also take that color. So yeah, by default, the resource is gems. And so if I drop the resource display, here we are going to see how many gems I have by default, because here it's gems too. So let's always show that and change the size of the text. All right, so let's say that this is the blue pickup, and it will, yeah, let's just say that's the blue pickup, and I can change that to blue, and we're going to have the red pickup. And this will add Can we use that? Yeah, let's try. So I want to just add some gems too, but here I want to add 2 gems. Let's just change the color here of that. All right, so now you see that at the top right we can see the resource. If I take the blue one, it goes to 1, and if I take the red one, it goes to 3. Okay. So I'm thinking about how we can use that for the game. I think we're going to change the resource pickup server so that it's doing something else. Instead of just adding values, I'm going to change the value. So if we look at the resource pickup server, there is a lot of different stuff. But here we have the current resource. Here we add that resource to the new one, and then we apply here, so we set the resource here. Instead of doing that, I'm just going to set that the new resource is the resource change. So now I don't need the current resource. And yeah, let's just try that. So now if I try again, if I pick the blue, I got 1. And if I pick the red, I got 2. Let's try with another blue. So now it should go to 1, and then 2, and then 1 again. All right. So now we have that, and we know that 1 is blue, and 2 is red. And yeah, that's right, diversity. That's what we're going to use now. Because the resource is changing, we can detect from that equipment what's the current resource of the player. So I'm going to make a script in the client context. Should we do that in the client context or not? Yeah, let's try in the client context. So that will be the update color. And in that script, I want to take the current player. So to get the current player from a client context, we're going to use game.get local player. And I want to detect when the resource is updated. So if we look at the script helper, there is something in the resource called resource changed event. So let's copy that here. All right. So this is the handler on resource change. And I'm going to make a function on resource changed. And here you see that we are going to receive the player, the resource name, and the new amount. Let's just try to print the resource name and the new amount to see if this is working. So if I take the blue one, you see that now in the event log here I have 1 gems, and if I take the red one, now I have 2 gems. So now that I know that, I can have something that say that we have some colors, and the first one is blue, and the next one is red. So here I'm making a table containing those different values. So if I try to print colors 1 and colors 2, you see that it's showing blue and red. So now we have that 1 linked to the value blue and the 2 linked to the value red. Now that I have that, I can say that the new color is colors new amount, because if the new amount is 1, then I want to take the blue. If it's 2, I want to take the red. And if the new amount is 0, so if I go back to white, then I want to say that the new color is white. This is just a condition if we have something to reset the value. We can do that. So let's make a white pickup. Maisie's thinking some Mika sounds, I can be brown, I can be blue. That's right. That's kind of the spirit of the game. So here I want to set the new resource to 0. Let's change that to white. All right. Okay, so now I have that new color. First, I have to check that if the resource name is not color, then return. So here, if the resource name is not equal to color, then I just want to do nothing. And so I have to update all my pickup and the resource display. Let's just update the pickup right now. And we have to change the name of the resource to color. And I will do the same here for the resource display. All right, so let's just print that new color and see if this is working. So if I go here, it's blue, here it's red, here it's white, and blue again. Okay, so that is working. Now we get the color, and as you can see, when I'm building a game, I'm going like step by step. Just like right now, I just want to get a resource and to show the color. Now that I have that color, I can update the value, like the color of my cube. So let's just get a reference of that cube in my script. So I click on my script and I drag and drop the cube here. I copy the line at the bottom. And now I have this line to get a reference to the cube that I equipped. So instead of printing the color, I'm going to say that color, like cube set color, and we want to set the new color. And that's it. That should work. Now I'm blue, red, white, and blue again. Nice. So this is working. Now let's try with if we have 2 players in the same level, you will see that it won't really work. But then we're going to debug and see how we can handle that. So the first thing is that, yeah. So on the left, you see that I am the thing is that first I forgot to make 2 equipment. So there is only 1 player costume. So when the 2 players spawns, that first one is used by the first player and the other one has no costumes. So let's make a template from that player costume. All right. Now I can remove that, and I'm going to use a core content called static player equipment. And that object is really simple. You give an equipment template, and it will equip that to the player. So if I now drag my player costume here, that template will be equipped by default for everyone. And I don't want to replace the equipment on each respawn. And I don't really care about the team too. So now if both of them are joining, like a new template will be spawned, and now, yes, we can see both players. Now what happens if I get that blue one? You see that on, like here, both became blue, and on the left, like none of them became blue. And if I take the red one, you see that it's only red for that player, and it's blue on the other side. the thing is that if we open our costume, so here you see that we are only looking at the current player. And so if the current player has a new resource, then we change the cube color, even if that player is not the owner of the equipment. Like here, I'm just saying that I don't care if there is an equipment or anything. Like my script here is just saying that when the current player has a new resource, you have to change the color of the cube. So the first thing I'm going to do is to check that like we need the equipment first from that script. So we need the player costume. Let's de-instance that, and I'm going to drag and drop the player costume here. All right. So now I have the player costume, and I can say that if the owner of that costume, so if we look at the equipment, you see that in the properties we have the owner, so that's the player that is currently owning, like that have that equipment. And I can say that if the owner is not the player, then do nothing. So now if I pick, like if the other one picked the blue one, because it's not me, then I just want to skip that, and I don't want to change the color of the cube. Let's try how it's working right now. I think I forgot to update it. Let's update template from this, and I can remove it. All right, so now I have both players. If I take the blue here, you see that only that one is blue. And if I take the red here, you see that, so it's only changing for that player because this is in the client context. So this is just like looking at the current player. So we're going to change that. There is a lot of there is many ways to do that. I think that the best way is to maybe change that. Yeah, so maybe the easiest way is not to handle that on the client context. So let's get that player costume. And so the idea would be to move that geo outside of the client context. So now it's networked, but like we won't have a lot of networked objects in our game, so it's okay. And so yeah, Diversity is saying that maybe the code should be in the server and send the info to the client, maybe with a broadcast, so that if someone gets a blue resource, then everyone receives the information. But I want to avoid using the broadcast here. So I think I'm going to network the cube, and so the color will be changed from the server, so that now it's not handled from each player. Now it's the server that is looking if someone gets a specific resource, then we are going to update the color of their costume for everyone. So I'm going to move the update color outside here, and yeah, we can remove here the player costume because we won't have only one costume now. It's based on the number of player. So now our costume is just a geo with a cube. I'm going to add a reference to the cube in the player costume. You will see later why I need this. So now let's update template from this. All right, so yeah, Barge, we're going to look at the range just after that. First, we want to be sure that when someone becomes blue, everyone should know that this player is blue. So now that update color, we can't use the get local player because it's in the default context. We are not in the client context anymore, and there is no cube too, because now each costume has its own cube. So I'm going to remove that too. And now instead of here using the player, I'm going to do that for each player. So first, let's detect when there is a new player joining the game. And so when that player joins, I want to know when a new resource is, like when the resource has changed for that player. So you see that that event is available for the client and the server context. That's something that's great because now we can handle that on the server. I'm just thinking that maybe we could also do that on the client side, but that would be a bit more complicated. So even if it's not really optimized, that will definitely work, and you won't have any lag on your game if you use that kind of stuff. So here I'm saying that when any player has a change in their resource, I want to call that function. Let's remove that. So I want to just track the color name resource, and here I get the color. So now that's great. Maybe we can just print the player name and the new color to see if this is working. So all right, so now I have 2 players. Oh, and you see that I can't really move. It's because I forgot to remove the collision on my equipment on the costume. So I should just game collision force off and camera collision force off. I don't want any collision on the cube. That's just a visual aspect of the game. Let's update that. Now that must be better. All right, so now I can move. If I take the blue, I see that bot 1 got blue. And if I take the red, I see that bot 2 is red. And now bot 2 is white. So now we know which player picks like which resource. So now we have to take that cube and set the color. This is what we want. We want to change the color of the cube. So first, to get that cube, we need reference to the equipment, because if I can get that equipment, then I can access the custom property and get that specific cube. Yeah, I need that from that equipment. But so I need a reference to that equipment, and to do that, we can use the let's say that we want the equipment to be get player costume, and we give the player. So let's make a function that's called get player costume with the player. And here I'm going to make a loop. So equipment in, and let's look at the documentation. If I look get equipment, just want to look at the examples. Get equipment. All right, we have here those 2 lines to go through all the equipment of the player. And from here, I'm going to say that if the object name is player costume, so that's the name of our template here. That's not really safe, but that will work like that. So if the name is player costume, well, maybe we can do something else. Instead of looking at the name, so here we are going to return the object, the equipment. Instead of looking at the name, I'm going to look at the socket. And so if the socket is pelvis, I know that's the costume that I attach to the pelvis of the player. So that's what we define here. And that's safer, because if I change the name here, like default or something like that, then that code won't work anymore. So I'm just going to use the pelvis because I know that in my game the equipment will always be attached to the pelvis. Alright, so here I should get the equipment. So if there is no equipment, then return. Okay, I didn't find anything, so I don't want to make something. And then I have to get the cube. And you see that now that we have that equipment of the player, we can look at the custom property and get the cube that is hidden inside here. So we could also use the find descendant by name to find that specific cube. But yeah, let's just take that cube from the custom property. So I'm just going to take that. And that will be equipment. Get custom property cube, and now that we have our cube, we can set the color of that object. So you might wonder, like, it kind of like it looks like the other script, but now because in my equipment that geo cube is networked, it will be replicated, sorry, for everyone, and everyone will see the new color of the player. That's the test. Okay, so if I take the blue one, you see that the other players see that now I'm blue, and if I pick the red one, everyone is red. Okay, so now we can change the color of a specific player. I just want to let's make a function, because we need that, called setPlayerColor, that receive the player and the color. And I just want to take that piece of code and place it here. And so instead of new color, now it's color. So it's doing the same. Here I can call the setPlayerColor player new color. But why I'm using that, it's because when someone picks resources next to someone else, I also want to change the color of that player. So yeah, maybe first we can make the splash effect when we get that resource. So yeah, resource pickup server. All right, let's make the splash effect right now. So that's the splash effect. Let's you look at the effect. So there is something called splash, maybe? Water splash. Yeah. Is there some paint splash, maybe? No. Yeah, maybe we can improve that later. I think we're just going to use that one. Even that's yeah, a great splash, but that will be enough for what we need. So let's place that effect in our folder. Let's place that at 000, and I'm going to spawn that effect. So I have to enable networking, create a new template from this, and now let's so I'm going to give that, so when the player get the resource, so here, when I set the resource, I also want to spawn the effect. There is already something like that in the pickup here. Yeah, pickup effects. So there is already something that you can use in the pickup. So I'm just going to place the splash effect here, and let's see. Wait, let's not start the multiplayer preview. I'm going to start like that. So now if I pick the blue one, yes, I have the splash effect. The issue is that the color is not the one I need. First, I just want to check where I spawn the splash effect. Is it? Yeah, okay. So you see that here it's spawning that new splash effect. We have to change the color here. You see that we have to pick the new color so that the effect will change. Because if I change the color here, yes. So now the effect has the color that we need. All right, so we have to change that property, and you see that here in the custom property it's called smart. There is something to change the color of a smart property in core. So let's just update the pickup server. And here, so it spawns the pickup effect. I'm going to get that effect, and if the effect dot name is splash effect, then I want to set the smart property. I think that's set smart property here, and you give the property name and the property value. So let's say that set smart property. So the name is color, and let's set that to red. So now by default it should be red. No. Attempt to call a new value set smart property. Can't use that on the effect. Oh yeah, because you see that if I spawn the splash effect, it's a group, and inside I have the SFX. So I have to get that child. I'm just going to rename that VFX, and instead of using that smart property, I'm going to find child by name VFX, and then on that child we want to set the smart property. And by the way, that could be the condition, because I really don't like that kind of condition where we look at the name. So we're just going to say that the VFX is that. And so if it's any other effect, it will do nothing. But if it finds the VFX, then we want to set the smart property to red. Nice. So yeah, this is working. Now, how can we find the right color? Because here it's red, but we need the right color for that resource. I guess here you see that it's destroyed at that line. So when that VFX is spawned, the object is still here. Like that object, the blue pickup is still here when it's spawned, and then it broadcasts the resource pickup, and then it destroyed the component. So before it gets destroyed, I'm just going to look at that object. Let's call that gem. Gem is great. And so if I find the VFX, I need to pick the color. So the color is from the component root. I want to find descendant by name called gem. And I think it won't work because this is also a client context, you see. And I want to do that from the server context. So that's not really great, but I'm going to move that here. And we're going to remove the client context. Because I won't have a lot of that type of objects in my game. It's not, yeah, that's okay to have a lot of networked objects like that. All right, so now I can just do find child by name. And I also have to set the game collision to force off. So now, like, the only thing that will detect the player is the trigger. It's not like the gem itself. I don't need collision on the gem. Okay, so now that I have the gem, I can do get color, and this will return that value, the color override. And so here, instead of using color red, I'm going to use the color of the gem that is not destroyed yet. So let's create a new template from this. This is the blue pickup. And let's see if this is working. There's no effects now. What did I change? Maybe the color is not great. Let's just print the color. Yeah, it's 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, so that is not working. Oh yeah, maybe I should look at the material and then look at the color. Material slot. And so this will... Let's just look at the example. So it gets the material slot, the first one, and then get custom material. I think from that we can, yeah, we need the color. So if we look at the material, get color on core mesh, or here, material slot get color. All right, so this is what I need. So I'm going to take the from the gem, I want to get the material slot 1, and from that slot, I want to get the color. Is it working now? Yes, now it's working. You see that the VFX was blue. Nice. And so this is the blue pickup. Let's remove the other one. I'm going to make the red pickup that has a resource change to 2. And I have to change the color. All right. And let's make white pickup, and the color will be white. Let's create a new template from the red pickup and a new template from the white pickup. Okay. So if I take the blue one, I'm blue and the VFX is blue. This is red and white. Okay, so I got both at the same time. Let's just move them. Oh, I just moved the gem inside and not the template. All right. So now that should be better. Blue, white, and red. Okay, let's increase the splash effect and make it like 3, 3. Yeah, that's great like that. Maybe too much. Maybe too much. Let's do 2 and 2. Okay. So now when there is this splash effect, I have to change the color of the player. Is it still working? Yep. Let's try with the multiplayer preview before starting the other one. And it's not working. I think it's because the VFX is on the client side, and so I can't set the color from there. Yeah, I think even if I change that, let's try the green. Yeah, so it's always green, so it's not changing the color. Yeah, so one solution would be to move that in a client context, and to, instead of using the pickup effect, I want to move that in the client. But that would take too long, and it would still have like 15 minutes. Right, let's just make a white effect. And let's see if it's working like that. And then we're going to look at the radius, so that when I pick the blue, that player will also become blue. Yep, let's do that. All right, so how can we do that? There is a function that we're going to use that's called find players in sphere. So we're going to give a position and a radius, so that we can get all the players in a specific area. And maybe when we get the resource, so we spawn the VFX, and here we can get the player. So let's use the script helper in sphere, find players in sphere, that's the one. And it's game, okay. So game.find players in sphere, then we give the position. So the position will be the position of the script. Get world position. And the radius, let's say 1000. Yeah, that should be okay. I want to check the optional params just to see if we can debug that value and see the sphere. Yep, that's the one. Table parameters. Oh, okay, it's to filter the list of players. And it's the same as get players. So if we look at the get players, yeah, it's just if you want to ignore dead people and to ignore some specific player. All right, so we don't need that. Let's just try like that. And let's print the name of all the players that we found in that sphere. Print p.name. Okay, so let's start with 2 players. So now when I get that resource, I should see the name of the people that are around me. So if I take the blue one, you see that it's written bot2 and bot1. Now if bot1 is going far away, and here I take the red one, you see that it's only written bot2, so here. So there is only bot2 in that position, but here there is both players. How can we handle that? So maybe you want to, instead of looking at the resource, yeah, maybe now we can just, let me think about it. Let's remove that. Yeah, maybe we should change the resource of the player. Yeah, that's what has been asked. So let's do that. Let's set resource. So the resource is called color, and we want to, so for all those players, we want to set the color value to a new one. And that value is resource change. So that's the resource change. You see that here it's the resource change, and we define that here the resource change is 1. So we want to set the resource color to that amount, so 1. And you see that here it's changing that event for everyone. So it will be called twice for the player that get the resource, because first it will be called here when he gets that resource, and then it will be called because that player is already here. Maybe we should check that if it's not, if the player that gets the resource is not that player, then we want to set the resource, because it will be already set for that player as we are doing that just here. So we could also remove that and just do it here in that loop. But yeah, let's just try like that. So that find players in sphere is really useful if you want to make that kind of effect where, or like a spell where when someone is doing a spell, you want to check everyone. So you see that both players are blue right now. And if I move, let's say right here, and I take the red one, we also got it. I think it's like the 1000 was maybe a bit too much for the radius. Let's change that to 100. Okay, so if I take the blue one, I'm the only one. And now if I take the red one, yeah, I'm the only one too. 100 is not big enough. Let's do 300 maybe. Okay, so now both of them are blue, and if I'm right here and I take the red one, I'm the only one. All right, so this is working. Like now we have that feature where if someone is next to a gems, like both of them got the color. That's great. Maybe we can add that here, so player can break objects to change his color, so can get a resource. And here, that's the bonus one. We'll see if we have time to do that. The team collision on object to make puzzles. There is something great with objects like walls, for example. Let's pick that wall. I'm going to change the material to like a hologram. Basic hologram, and on the other side too. And that's something that's not really used in most of the games, and that's really powerful. So let's just use that color. I'm going to drop both colors here. So I need the blue one for that one, and that blue. All right, so now we have that wall that is blue, and I want a red one. Okay. So yeah, here as you can see in both walls we have gameplay properties. That's something that we haven't covered yet in the Let's Build, but that might be useful for a lot of games. And you see that here you can give a team to that mesh. So let's say that the blue one is team 1 and the red one is team 2. So if I come here with my players, that's a wall, so I can't go through it because there is collision. But you see that here in the properties we can enable team collision. So like people from the same team will collide with the wall, and you can also have the enemy collision. So all the other teams, if they are not in the same team, they can't go through. And most of the times it's used to make a safe zone, like the spawn. If you don't want, like if you're making a FPS and you don't want your enemy to enter in an area like the spawn of the blue team, then you might want to use that. But here, let's just say that there is no team collision. Like if you're on the same team as the wall, you can't go through it. But if you're an enemy, you can't go through it. But if you are at the same team, then you can go through that object. So by default, the player is in the team 1 here. So I can't go through the red one, but I can go through the blue one. Now, let's say that when the player joins, I want to set his team to 0. And when the color is changing, I also want to change the team by the new amount. So if now the player is blue, you see that the team is blue. I should do that here. And yeah, instead of giving the color, I should just give the ID. All right, so that's the ID. So here I'm just setting the player color with the new amount, and so that ID, I want to set that to the ID of the team. So now I can print player.name is now in team player.team. Okay. So if I pick the blue one, it's not working. Oh yeah, because this is color and this is ID. Oh yeah, that's right. There is a small typo here. Thanks, Julia. Okay, so yeah, if I pick the blue one, you see that now KF is now in team 1. So I can go through the blue, but I can't go through the red. And if I pick the red one, now I am in team 2. I can go through the red, but I can't go through the blue. And you see that from that, and if I pick the 0, then okay. So like the 0 is like no team. So maybe I should not use 0 for the white one. I thought the 0 was, yeah, so it seems like 0 is just like it's LI for everyone. So let's say that, yeah, white is the first one, then we have the blue, and then we have the red. Yeah, 0 is kind of the God mode. So let's remove that. And I'm just going to change the property for each one of them. So the blue now is 2. Let's update. The red is 3. Let's update that. And the white is 1. Okay, so that should be better now. If I have the white, wait, why can I go? Okay, so yeah, it's team 1 because I forgot to change here. So now that's the blue wall, and that's the red wall. Okay, so if I'm white, I can't go through anything. If I am blue, I can go here. And if I'm red, I can go here. And you see that now you can have maybe a mechanic of your game where like there is a button here, and if you click on that button, then the other player can be red, and then the other player can go through here and take a button. So yeah, there is a lot of things to do with that mechanic of collision, and now it's just like level design. You can just place some walls that like basic wall, and I'm going to set that to something like that. And yeah, you can make a game like Portal or that kind of game that's just puzzles that you can do with your friends. And I think Core kind of lack of this type of game. And once the mechanic is here, then you can have a lot of things to add from there. So you see that now here, if there is a button behind, I can't go, but if I'm the blue player, then I can pick that item and give that to the red player, let's say. So yeah, maybe I will make more level from that. One last thing that I want to try is the fact that if you're blue and then red, you become like you're like purple or something like that. I think there is a purple color. Let's try. And so you see that here I'm setting the color of the player, but before I want to check that if the player team is 2, so if it's blue, then so yeah, if it's 2 and the color is like if it's 4, so if it's the purple, no, if it's red, sorry, so if it's 3, or I can also say that if the color is color.red, then I want to set the player color to, I can just set the color to, no, let's just return and set player color to player, and then here we give the ID 4, so that's the purple one, and we want to do that. There's maybe a better way of doing that kind of logic, but I think that should work. So now if I pick the blue and then the red, yes, it's working. So you see that now I'm purple, so the collision is not working because that's another color, but maybe you want a mechanic where you're not only handling that with the team color, but yeah, maybe there is something to do with that, or maybe that's just like another type of wall. Let's duplicate that one, and that's the team 4, and this one would be purple. Right. So let's say that the escape is here. So by default, when I'm white, I can't go through that. If I take the blue one and the red one, then I can escape. All right. Maybe I can go through one last time through the code. Maybe you have some questions in the chat. But yeah, here you see that I have the different colors. Then here it's just a function that gets the costume, so it gets the object that's attached to the pelvis of the player. If you are making an FPS and you want to get the weapon, you can look at the right prop, for example, to look at to get that equipment. And here, yeah, it's looking at the. So when the player joins, by default, it's in the team 1 and not 0. And I can even use that set player color to the color 1, so that's the white. And yeah, here, so I'm getting that equipment, picking the color. If the color is something, like if it's red and I am blue, or if it's blue and I'm red, it changed the color. And here we are doing the actual change, so changing the color of the cube and the ID of the team. All right, and yeah, there was also this script where we looked at so yeah, there was this find child by name to see if the effect is a splash effect. If there is the VFX, then we are looking, like we're finding the gem by looking at the child by name. From that object, we are looking at the material slots to get all the material. We pick the first one because there is only one, but as you can see, if you look at those walls, there is 2 material slots. So you might want to change both of them if you're using that. But yeah, the gem by default has only 1 material, so we take the first one, we get the color, and then we set the property of the VFX. So that's not working in multiplayer preview. Maybe I think I will add that in the forum post. But that's the, like, if I want to fix that, I think I would send an event to everyone to spawn that effect in the client context, because the server doesn't really care about that VFX. The server is just looking at the players in the sphere and then setting the resource. But yeah, for that VFX, I think that could be handled on the client side. And yeah, I think that's it for that Let's Build session. So we kind of had the basic mechanic, team collision on object, so that's done, and we had the mix of colors. So we achieved everything in 1 hour, so that's awesome. And yeah, I will give you all that script, and I really encourage you to use the collision here, the team collision. That might be something that you were looking for, and you were maybe doing some tricks, but you can just use those properties. And I guess you can even change the team of a wall in runtime. So if you have a script and you want to alternate that wall from blue to red, you can just change the team color and also change the both color of the material slots. And then you can have a wall that's kind of flashing, and you have to get the right timing. So yeah, that's something you can do with that type of mechanic. All right. So yeah, I hope you learned a lot of different things. As always, I want to remind that this session is live. That's a live session on the Discord. So there is a link in the description if you're looking that on if you're watching that on YouTube. And it's every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. It's like 7 p.m. if you're in Europe, Central European time. And yeah, you have, like, you can come just before 10 a.m. and send some ideas of topics that you want me to cover in the session, and if you have ideas during the session, I might also add them. So yeah, just come in the Discord, join the community, and yeah, maybe your idea will be the next Let's Build. All right, thanks everyone for being here. I see that there was also a lot of people on the Discord, so thanks again, and I will see you all next week.